Lynn Swan and John Stallworth are here, as are a lot of old Steelers. Baltimore won the toss and deferred. Justin Tucker, who's having a great rookie season, and Chris Rainey back to receive for Pittsburgh, wearing their throwback uniforms for the second time this season. And we're underway in Pittsburgh with a touchback. And let's take a look right now at the Pittsburgh starting offense.
Byron Leftwich, Marshall.
Rashard Mendenhall, Illinois.
Will Johnson, West Virginia.
Mike Wallace, Ole Miss.
Emmanuel Sanders, Belleville, Texas.
Heath Miller, Virginia.
Max Starks, Florida Gators.
Willie Colon, Hofstra University.
Marquise Pouncey, Florida. Ramon Foster, Tennessee.
Mike Adams, The Ohio State University.
And here is Byron Leftwich, picked in the first round by Jacksonville back in '03. He was going to be their franchise quarterback, lasted 4 years there, and makes his first start since 2009 tonight, and he'll go right to the air. He gets great protection. He goes deep downfield, and it's broken up. And a flag is thrown. Kerry Williams broke it up, intended for Mike Wallace, as on the very first play of the game, they go deep, and they're going to get a pass interference call.
I don't think Kerry Williams had any choice. Mike Wallace ran by him like a blur, and he grabbed his arm as he was going by, just trying to slow that bullet down a little bit. I guess we found out about Byron Leftwich's arm. He uncorked that thing.
And if you thought they were going to go conservative tonight, well, they may before the night is done, but the first play is good for a 42-yard penalty and a first down at the 38-yard line. And now the run and end around with David Gilreath to the outside, and he picks up 8 yards. And what a start for the Pittsburgh Steelers with Leftwich tonight.
Great job by Will Johnson, the fullback, coming across almost sort of a lead blocker and gets the defender upended, allowing that reverse to gain traction. Emmanuel Sanders down the field, working against Corey Graham as well.
Gain of 7, second down and 3. The running back is Chris Rainey, and they empty the backfield as he sets up to the left side. And Leftwich dancing, buying some time, and Leftwich will take off, and Leftwich is inside the 20, and can you believe that for a start? Touchdown Pittsburgh. That is just crazy. 31 yards on a Leftwich run.
Every time I think we do one of these games, it's the craziest it can possibly be. It gets even crazier. Byron Leftwich was laughing at the idea that he could play scrambler and do the things that Ben Roethlisberger could do. But what did John Harbaugh tell us? He said, we watched so many games on tape against this guy. He moves better than you think. And there, right off the bat, you see it. Unbelievable.
Longest rush of his career. The prior long was 20. That was 31. Sean Sweezum for the extra point. It takes 43 seconds. 3 plays. 7-0 Steelers. Well, last night, part of Alumni Weekend, Heinz Field hosting the Taste of the Steelers, celebrating the team's 80th season. And a lot of former stars are here. You saw Dan Rooney back from Ireland, where he is the U.S. ambassador to Ireland, right in the middle of things, as the kickoff is fielded by Jacoby Jones, who's already had 2 run back for touchdowns in the last month. And back we go to Leftwich's touchdown run.
Watch the very end of this. Bernard Pollard is going to set up on the boundary, I think, because he wanted to take a big shot at Byron Leftwich. He wanted to get him down to their 3rd-string quarterback, and he paid the price for it. Look at him. He's setting up outside. He's going to hammer Leftwich. And Leftwich said, hammer this, I'm gone.
For the record, their 3rd-string quarterback is Charlie Batch. And so Flacco on first down now. Hit as he throws. And because he is hit, the pass is wobbly and incomplete. And that's Brett Kiesel coming off a great performance against Kansas City last week, who got there as Flacco released it. Joe Flacco, picked in the first round in 2008. He and John Harbaugh came in together. They have been to the playoffs in each of their 4 seasons together. They've won a playoff game in every year. And last year came very close to winding up in the Super Bowl. 2nd and 10 now. And they give it to Ray Rice, who cuts it back, and Rice takes the ball out to the 38-yard line as we take a look at the Baltimore starters.
Joe Flacco, University of Delaware.
Ray Rice, Rutgers University.
Fonte Lee, East Carolina.
Torrey Smith, Maryland.
Anquan Bolden, Florida State University.
Ed Dixon, Oregon Ducks.
Michael Orr, University of Ole Miss.
Joe Reed, Central Florida. Matt Burke, Harvard.
Marshall Yonda, Iowa.
Coleccio Assembly, Iowa State.
Assembly doing a very nice job moving in as the starting right tackle in his rookie year. 3rd and 7 now. Flacco out of the shotgun. 4-man rush. And the pass is caught, but not for a first down. Shy by 2 yards as Ryan Clark stops the tight end Dennis Pitta. And it's a 3-and-out for the Ravens.
Yeah, and try and get them to throw hot over here as they're bringing pressure off the edge. And then they come up with the safety anticipating this hot throw and going to drill him before he got to the first down marker anyway.
Sam Cook is the Baltimore punter. Emmanuel Sanders sets up at his own 10-yard line for the Steelers. Sanders will have a run back from the 14, but not very far. Good special teams coverage by the Ravens. So early first quarter, here comes Leftwich again, up 7-zip. Second possession for the Steelers from the 14-yard line. And they hand the ball off on first down. Rashard Mendenhall, who's only played in a couple of games, picks up about 3. Let's go back and take a look what happened after Leftwich got into the end zone, Chris, for the touchdown.
Watch him. He just stumbles. Nobody hits him. He goes down, immediately grabs that right shoulder, his throwing arm side, goes to the sideline, decides he has to get it loose, grabs it again. So we have an early development on a great play by Byron Leftwich.
And again, Charlie Batch is the other quarterback, 15 years in the league, 37 years old. Meanwhile, Jonathan Dwyer comes in as the running back, and they'll give it to him. And Dwyer breaks one out to the 28-yard line, but a penalty marker is down.
Holding, number 74, offense. Half the distance to the goal, still second down.
Walt Anderson makes the call on Willie Colon, the longtime right tackle, now a left guard.
Right here's Willie as they're going to come across. Looks like he kind of got wrapped up on him. Grab that backside left shoulder, and there's a turn of events. You go from first down back inside your own 10-yard line, but Willie Colon, no doubt about it, has made a big difference. He made that move from tackle to guard, and by his own admission had a lot to learn, but he's definitely getting there.
2nd and 15. Now Isaac Redmond is the running back. They have 4 running backs active tonight, and Redmond, who had a big game against the Giants a couple of weeks ago, takes it up to the 14. Let's take a look right now at the Raven defense.
Halatingata, Oregon. Maake Kemoyatu, Utah.
Arthur Jones, Syracuse.
Hacksaw, Ball So Hard University.
Donnell Ellaby, Richmond Senior High School.
Jamel McClain, Syracuse University. Alvin McClellan, Kathleen High School. Corey Graham, University of New Hampshire.
Bernard Pollard, the Boilermakers.
Ed Reed, the U.
Kerry Williams, Washburn.
Again, that defense ranked 27th in the league, but when they're backed up, they're great. They're #1 in red zone defense. Go figure. Meanwhile, with the play clock going all the way down, Leftwich is going to take a timeout.
Pittsburgh, 30-second timeout.
Among the guys missing, of course, tonight, Ray Lewis with a torn tricep. So he is on what in the old days was injured reserve, which meant you were done, but there's a special designation this year, and it's conceivable that Lewis could come back and play at the end of December and then into the playoffs if the Ravens get there. So Ray Lewis is out. A lot of stars. It looks like a Pro Bowl roster on the sidelines tonight, in addition to all of the great old Steelers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Troy Polamalu, we have 7 former active defensive players of the year here, 5 of them in this game. Unfortunately, those 2 you just saw unable to make it.
There's one guy who did come back was Terrell Suggs, who tore his Achilles last spring, and he was able to come back just at about the time that they lost Lewis. So 3rd and 10 now for the Steelers. From the 14, blitz on, it's picked up, pass is caught, and then the ball is lost by Wallace, and it is picked up by Reed, and Ed Reed is inside the 20, and Reed will set him up at the 12-yard line. So Wallace had the first down over the middle, got hit by Chris Johnson, and Ed Reed picks up the fumble.
Well, Chris Johnson just arrived with the Ravens. He's their new cornerback they signed this week, but he comes up huge already, knocks that football out, and then Ed Reed, Mr. Return Yardage for a defensive player, takes over from there. So the newcomer, Chris Johnson, makes a huge play.
And of course, all turnovers are reviewed. They confirm it upstairs. Johnson brought in, as Chris just said, because Jimmy Smith, the cornerback, with a groin problem, and he had a surgical procedure done. So Johnson comes in, makes a big play, and now Baltimore sets up at the 12 with a first down. And Rice will spin and go nowhere. He's knocked down by Casey Hampton, the nose tackle in his 12th season, drafted number 1 back in 01.
And Casey Hampton, this is always a little personal for him because they spend a lot of time up front trying to cut his knees. They're really feeling like the best way to attack this front of the Pittsburgh Steelers is to get them moving laterally. Those big defensive linemen cut their knees. That time they were unable to do so, and you see what happens when they don't.
They'll go head-to-head tonight with Matt Burke, who's in his 15th season. So the 2 veterans head-to-head on the nose, 2nd down and 12 from the 14-yard line. And this time it is Rice, and he gets bottled up. It'll be 3rd and long as we take a look at the Pittsburgh defense.
Ziggy Hood, Missouri.
Casey Hampton, Texas.
Brett Kiesel, Grable High School. Go Buffs.
Lamar Woodley, University of Michigan.
Larry Foote, Michigan.
Lawrence Timmons, Florida State. James Harrison, Kent State.
Keenan Lewis, Oregon State University. Will Allen, The Ohio State University.
Ryan Clark,
DBU.
IT Swagger University.
Hampton looks like he was in a hostage video. 3rd and 11. They split Rice out. Flacco to throw, and it's caught and tackled at the 8-yard line is Rice. Ike Taylor is there to make the stop, and the Pittsburgh defense, number 1 in the league, has limited Baltimore to a field goal attempt.
Here goes your number 1 defender out here guarding a running back, and it's a good thing they do. When you talk to Mike Tomlin about the Baltimore Ravens, he says unequivocally, that's the guy. Ray Rice, the guy. You got to stop running, throwing, no matter what it is. They had their best player on him.
Justin Tucker, rookie, undrafted out of Texas. He's missed only 1 field goal attempt this year, a 47-yarder against Cleveland. This is from 26 and right down the middle. So with the turnover, they cashed in for 3, and it's Pittsburgh 7, Baltimore 3 with 8:22 to go in the first. John Harbaugh, 5th year, has taken his team to the playoffs in each of them, and he's won 11 straight games against the AFC North, which is the equivalent of almost 2 full seasons. You play 6 divisional games per year, beat Pittsburgh twice last year, so 11 straight for Coach Harbaugh. The Pittsburgh defense did its job after Rice was able to return the fumble to the 12-yard line, and now Leftwich and the offense will go to work again. Tucker's kick will go through the end zone.
Tucker's kick.
without Roethlisberger, and he's missed a few of these games. He, of course, was in the draft class of 04. 7-4 when he starts. 0-5 in this series when he doesn't. But yards per game is pretty close. And Pittsburgh, 17 points on offense and 16 without him. 5 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter overtime. So it's really kind of been the defense and special teams that's made most of the difference when Ben hasn't played. We'll see what happens tonight. As he can only observe, and as we said at the outset, nobody seems to know for sure when he'll be back. The speculation that it's going to be about 3 weeks. From the 20-yard line on first down. And Leftwich wide open is Emmanuel Sanders, who makes the catch in the middle of that Ravens secondary, all the way out to the 45-yard line for a gain of 25, tackled by Pollard.
Well, they tried to drop Terrell Suggs back into coverage here, but they voided the entire middle of the field. Sometimes you go, okay, they have 2 safeties, and there was nobody there, just a blown coverage. And for Byron Leftwich, the thing that he feels that he does best, I kind of like the whole bootleg thing he did earlier, but he thinks he reads defenses. That's his strength, and that time he saw the mistake, took advantage.
From the 45-yard line, you saw the elongated windup. People have been talking about that since his rookie year. Here he goes again to the outside, buying time and observing, and then throws, and it's incomplete. He may have that elongated windup. I mean, he's not Dan Marino. Let's face it, Marino would be the other end of the spectrum, but he has a cannon.
Yeah, he does, and he makes up for the fact that it takes a little bit longer to get the ball out of his hands by the fact that the velocity makes up for that a little bit. Although I think the reason he's not a starter in the league right now is because of that big windup. Because when you start that motion, it gives defensive backs a chance to jump on the ball. But as far as just getting the ball there, he can do that.
Mentioned #1 pick by Jacksonville in 03, and then David Garrard took over for him, and he began an odyssey that went to Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and now back to Pittsburgh. And he throws, and that one is incomplete, and that was Williams covering on the play. He didn't even turn around. He was just looking at Mike Wallace, the intended receiver. 3rd down.
Well, Kerry Williams is not afraid. He's getting right in the face of Mike Wallace on the outside. He's going to give him a little Deion Sanders treatment, and he's perfect position. The ball hit him square in the back. Kerry Williams has really stepped up this year. Of course, they lost their best cornerback, Ladarius Webb, and he has stepped up with 4 interceptions after not having any the first 3 years in the league.
Webb gone for the season. 3rd down and 10. Out of the gun, 4-man rush, and Leftwich under pressure, and down he goes, and Paul Kruger comes in from the outside to get the sack and make it 4th down.
Leftwich tackled by Kruger.
Paul Kruger's strength is playing with his hands. He is just magical. Watch the way he gets Mike Adams' hands off of him. He has the quickest swat when he comes in there. He just gives it a little thing with his hands right there and right through to the quarterback.
This is Drew Butler kicking. Jacoby Jones fields at the 12 and gets wrapped up at the 14-yard line. Nice tackle by Curtis Brown. First quarter, 7-3 Pittsburgh. Joe Flacco picked in the first round out of Delaware in 08, home and road. 5-0 at home, 2-2 on the road this season. And take a look at that. 2/3 of his passes completed at home and a little bit more than half on the road. Big disparity there. Kind of reflects the team itself, and a huge difference in passer rating. And of course, the only 2 losses Baltimore had this year, 1 point at Philadelphia, and then they were blown out in a game that got away from them 3 weeks ago in Houston. Start this drive from the 14. A raucous crowd at Heinz Field tonight. And the pass is caught on the outside by Anquan Bolden, their possession receiver, one-time Arizona Cardinal. It's a gain of 9, 2nd down and 1.
You know, Al, going back to Joe Flacco for a minute, I thought the last 2 games that he played during the regular season here really defined his career in many ways. Remember that drive, 90 yards, hit the touchdown to Torrey Smith, but you have to remember there were 4 drops in that drive, and he still got it done in a huge game.
2nd and 1, and this is Bernard Pierce, kind of a coming-of-age game. And speaking of drops, if a pass is not dropped in the AFC Championship game, Flacco might have been in the Super Bowl last year.
You're exactly right. Lawrence Timmons here is going to come up and make the play. You play off the fullback in this offense, Vontae Leach, and Bernard Pierce is going to have to learn what Ray Rice knows. Follow him.
Play action. Flacco going deep downfield, and it is almost picked off. Intended for Smith. Ike Taylor was back there. Got two hands on it. Couldn't hang on. 2nd and 10.
Here you have Ike Taylor, their best corner, and there has been a switch defensively. We've seen so many of these games for years. Ike Taylor has been covering Anquan Bolden. Well, Torrey Smith has become so much the #1 guy now. Now they have their best Ike Taylor on Torrey Smith, and the matchup, they're going to have a follow situation this whole game.
2nd and 10 from the 27. Flag is thrown offside. I think it's going to be the call. Free play and incomplete. Looked like Larry Foote came across when he was covering on the play. And I think it was Harrison who came across. Here's Anderson.
Offside, number 92.
Yep.
Defense. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
Got the jump.
You know, anytime, Al, that you're playing against a divisional opponent, you know what their snap counts are, what the head bobs are. He thought he had that thing timed up pretty well there, and I'm sure James Harrison's a little frustrated with the fact that he doesn't have the sack numbers he's had in the past coming off that knee injury, and he's trying to get a little edge there. It was close.
2nd and 5. And Rice following the fullback Leach to the 34. Vontae Leach, a very important part of this Baltimore offense. When Rice found out Leach was coming over last year, he said, hey, I'm going to go to the Pro Bowl because of this.
Watch James Harrison here come down the line. He sees Ed Dickson slide to his right, and he just crams it down the line. There, I just don't think there's a better linebacker in the game closing from the backside than James Harrison.
3rd down and 3. 3 receivers to the left. Steelers show blitz and back off, and the pass is incomplete. Ike Taylor covering Torrey Smith. It will be 4th down.
You know, that's going to be a throw they're going to have to try to make all night long. You go bunch formation to one side, and then you have one-on-one coverage on the backside. You have to try and hit this. You have to attack Ike Taylor in this situation. And unfortunately, because Ryan Clark ran underneath that, Flacco basically had to throw it away.
Sam Cook
Cook will punt.
to punt.
To receive.
Ran for a touchdown last week off a fake placement attempt against Oakland. Emmanuel Sanders calls for the fair catch and makes it at the 11-yard line. A little over 5 minutes to go in the quarter. Steelers up by 4. From the 12-yard line, Pittsburgh begins this drive. The running back is Jonathan Dwyer, who had a big day against Cincinnati in a Sunday night game a month ago.
Full start, number 89, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
And that's Jericho Cotchery. Meanwhile, we were telling you about the Ravens, and defensively, and normally they're up at the top of the league, and now they're at the bottom. Rushing against the pass and overall 27th.
Well, a lack of pressure has been part of the equation here too, but as Terrell Suggs continues to get healthier off that Achilles, you would think those numbers would start to tilt back in their favor again.
On 1st and 15. And the ball off to Dwyer. These uniforms, which were worn by the old Pittsburgh Pirates in 1934 throwback. So what do you figure this is? Is this, they're either bumblebee pajamas or prison garb? Which would you vote for?
I have no comment. I'm, you know, whatever. You know, this is such a great rivalry to me. You know what I mean? And I love seeing the Steelers uniforms. I'm okay. I know it's all part of making money and all that, but I'd rather see them look ahead. If you want to put new uniforms on, let's go futuristic and sell some jerseys, and that'd be okay with me. I can't see the numbers. That's what I'm really mad about.
That's the big issue. 2nd down and 12. Apart from that, no problem. Handoff goes to Jonathan Dwyer. In fact, it's so hard to read them that Malibu Kelly Hayes, who's been spotting for me for more than 30 years, just quit.
He'll come back.
3rd and 10 for Pittsburgh now.
Well, yeah, a lot of different looking guys now out there on the defensive side. We're so used to seeing Ray Lewis, Ladarius Webb, all these guys on the defensive side for the Ravens. But there have been guys really step up. Paul Kruger's been playing great. Bernard Pollard, a guy that has taken over sort of the emotional lead. Daniel Ellerby inside. A lot of guys that maybe you don't know as well, but have been really playing good football.
Steelers' best 3rd down conversion rate in the league to this point this season. And Leftwich has his arm hit as he throws. And the pass incomplete. That's Paul Kruger, who had a sack on the last series, who hits him as he throws it, and it's 3 and out.
I'll tell you, Mike Adams is having big problems right here. Kruger coming off this edge, and he's going right through Mike Adams on the outside. Kruger had a huge game last week. That ball was almost hit before it came out.
Drew Butler, a rookie from Georgia, is the punter. And here's Jacoby Jones, came over from Houston in the offseason, and Jones is inside the 40. Jones has one man to beat, and that's the kicker, and he is in for the touchdown. Jacoby Jones, and that's what he was noted for in Houston. Goes through his celebration in the end zone. He's run back 2 kickoffs in the last month from 108 and 105, and that's a 63-yard punt return.
Well, Jacoby Jones going to get a little help from Sean Considine right there. Gets that sealed block on the inside, and that's really what set him free. But what a difference he has made to these special teams. Leading kickoff return man in the entire National Football League, and now adds a 3rd touchdown on a return for a punt. And so far the Steelers defense has been playing great. It's been everything else getting them beat. Fumbles, kick returns.
Justin Tucker for the extra point. John Harbaugh telling us last night, all season long, Jones has been saying, put me back there, put me back there. I think he's won the job. 10-7 Baltimore. Jacoby Jones, well, he's been returning punts all season, and then Harbaugh moved him into return kickoffs against Dallas last month. And take a look at this. 108 yards at M&T Bank Stadium against the Dallas Cowboys, and then against the Raiders last week. This for 105. He's averaging 39 yards per kickoff return. His punt return average coming into the game was only 8.8, which is about average for the league, but a beauty here as he rips one off.
Yeah, and there's only been one other player in the history of the game that has 2 plays of over 105 yards, and it's his teammate, Ed Reed.
Ravens on top by 3 as this kick is fielded by the rookie from Florida, Rainey. And Rainey gets covered, and then ball is loose, but he is down. They're going to say he was down at the 12-yard line before the ball came out. That Ravens defense, you go back to the 2000 season, and if you go through the 12 years since, you can see where they have ranked 2nd overall, and then 26 this year, 2nd in points allowed, 13th this year. But in the red zone, they're as tough as ever.
Yeah, they are, but it has been a tough year. You lose Ray Lewis, their emotional leader. You lose Ladarius Webb, their best cover guy. You know, you're kind of starting from scratch every week.
So Dean Pease, the defensive coordinator, Chuck Pagano, was the DC last year. Now the head coach, of course, of Indianapolis, as the pass is caught by David Paulson.
It's not Heath.
No, they give him that Heath.
They can't read the numbers either.
Right. Every time a tight end catches it, you get that Heath chant. This time it's Paulson, though, who is a rookie out of Oregon, picked in the 7th round.
I'll tell you, that was Paul Kruger again coming inside this time and getting some pressure on the play. So at some point, they're going to have to come up with an answer for that guy who had 2 sacks and an interception last week. Already a sack in the game here tonight.
2nd and 4 from the 18-yard line. tore up his knee in the final game of last regular season. Sanders gets into it for the moment with Pollard. And then he had an Achilles issue, so Mendenhall has not played very much this season.
Oh, welcome back. Lodi Nada right out here. He's just going to go jam up the pile inside there. He had a shoulder injury that had been giving him problems all season long. They dressed him last week in the game against the Raiders, but because the game got out of hand, never had to play him, and they feel like for the first time in a long time, he's healthy and back to 100%.
3rd down and 1. And Leftwich going deep and incomplete. Intended for Jericho Cotchery. So they go long on 3rd and short. Now it's 4th down.
Paul Kruger with his moves, with his hands, he is giving Mike Adams fits on the outside. They are going to have to start giving him some help because right now Byron Leftwich has taken too many shots, and we already saw his shoulder's a little sore after that long touchdown run.
Butler's 3rd punt. And Jones calls for the fair catch and then lets it go, and it bounds out at the 29-yard line. Dick LeBeau is 75 years old, and there he is, the defensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and leave it to him, no matter how many injuries he has or what he has to do, moving guys in and out of the lineup. 54 consecutive years as a player or as a coach.
He's the only guy I know, though, that gets mad if he shoots his age. If he shoots
right.
75, he's in a bad mood. He's usually around par or better.
Take it back low and slow, bro, is what he tells you on the golf course. Here's Rice to the outside, and Rice loses the ball, and then it goes out of bounds, so Baltimore will retain possession. In fact, you played for Dick LeBeau at Cincinnati.
He was a part of both the teams that we had that went to the Super Bowl, lost both Super Bowls, but he's a brilliant guy. That whole zone blitz concept really got started with him in Cincinnati, and I'll tell you, it's going gangbusters to this day.
2nd down 11. They're ranked number 1 defensively in the league, and it's Rice who gets free down the sideline when it looked like Flacco was looking to maybe even throw it away, and Rice somehow gets free down the boundary, and it's a 30-yard gain.
We got Lamar Woodley, who's going to be out here in the flat, but you have the cornerback inside who is chasing the wide receiver across the field. So I think Woodley was thinking the corner was behind him when he wasn't.
From the 45 now, here's Flacco setting up, and he goes to Pierce, and Pierce breaking a tackle and should have enough for the 1st down. The rookie out of Temple as we check with Michelle.
Al, tight end Dennis Pitta went back to the locker room after the Ravens' first drive. We're told he's being evaluated, but the Ravens won't say for what. But I can tell you he was woozy leaving the field, had to get some support walking off.
All right, Michelle, that could be a big loss. He's 2nd in receptions on the team with 37. And the pass to the outside is caught by Bolden. In the waning seconds of the 1st quarter, that's a gain of 9. It'll be 2nd down and 1 for Baltimore.
Yeah, you're going to have to keep an eye on Anquan Bolden tonight because he's used to seeing Ike Taylor on the other side. So now he gets the younger player, Keenan Lewis. And Joe Flacco, seeing that matchup, may come back to Bolden more than usual.
And they'll let the clock run out, and that will be the end of the 1st quarter with the score: the Baltimore Ravens 10, the Pittsburgh Steelers 7. NBC's Sunday Night Football from Pittsburgh continues after these messages. Downtown Pittsburgh on this Sunday night. It's 2nd down and 1. Baltimore begins this drive from the 20-yard line, and Ray Rice is close to a 1st down. As they take a peek here, and Anderson looks over to the sideline and says, "Bring in the sticks."
The strength of this Baltimore Ravens offensive line is right here. These two guys, Marshall Yonda, probably the toughest guy on their football team, and the young kid, Kelechi Osemele, on the outside, the 2nd round draft pick. They think he is going to be a superstar. big-time player, gets a chance to play next to Yonda, incorporate some of that toughness into his game. But that's where they're going to go when they need a play, especially in the running game.
And they picked up the yard they needed there, so it's a 1st and 10 at the 19.
I wonder what's going through Ray Lewis's mind having to miss this game. You know, I mean, he loves football. He wants to play them all, but this game is different.
And in 2 weeks when they meet again in Baltimore, he still won't be ready. From the 19. Flacco throwing into double coverage and incomplete, and Smith diving for the tip ball. It'll be 2nd and 10.
You know, James Harrison, despite the fact that the numbers are down a bit, is going to get plenty of attention. And there's Vontae Leach. Pretty good little grab hold there. But for Joe Flacco, he's lucky. He just completely misread this coverage. Did not see the dropper underneath there and almost cost him an interception. Ryan Mundy almost got him.
2nd and 10. A lot of movement on both sides here, unless you've got 3 flags.
False start, number 76, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Ja Reed, the left guard. Let's go to Michelle again.
Hey, a quick update on Dennis Pitta, the Ravens tight end. Al, in fact, he has a concussion and he is out for the night.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And that means we'll see a lot more of Ed Dixon, who sees a good deal of playing time anyway. Billy Bajma is the 3rd tight end. Now moves up to number 2.
But Pitta was their best receiving tight end, so it definitely will hurt this passing game.
2nd and 15 from the 24.
Not one down lineman in the formation here.
Dropped by Flacco, then he gets it away, intended for Smith and incomplete, which works out well for Baltimore as it turns out anyway. 3rd down and 15.
Yeah, they were still just moving around pre-snap. Watch Ja Reed here. They're all just kind of getting settled in there, and I think Matt Burke got a little confused and shocked Flacco with that snap. This has been a few plays in a row now, a bit unsettled. Actually, it's Marshall Yonda who's moving.
So on 3rd and 15, Steelers still without a defender with his hand on the ground. Everybody standing up. Here comes the blitz. Flacco throws to the outside for only a very short gain as the catch is made by the tight end Ed Dixon. He's taken down by Timmons, and in comes the field goal group.
There we go. Lawrence Timmons right there is going to be on a read blitz. He tries to make it look like a blitz, but he still has the speed to be able to get outside against Ed Dixon and make that play. Flacco thought he was going to have a freebie out there, but it was the speed of Timmons that recovered.
41-yard attempt for Justin Tucker, a guy who sings opera in 5 languages. I kid you not.
You don't?
Who doesn't? And Tucker, who's missed only 1 all season, has just missed his 2nd.
The open end of Pittsburgh gets another one.
The fat lady just sung. Great little story here. Byron Leftwich almost wound up as a Baltimore Raven in 03. Terrell Suggs did. There's Ozzie Newsome, who's done a fantastic job as in effect the GM at Baltimore. But in the 03 draft, Ozzie's trying to trade up in front of Jacksonville to get Leftwich. And we'll fill in the rest in a second here. From the 31-yard line, Richard Mendenhall is the back, and he'll take it through the middle. So Minnesota has the 7th pick. They make a trade, Baltimore and Minnesota, but they have to call it into the league. And remember, you're on the clock. And so Minnesota's calling in. There's only one line going to the league desk, and Ozzie keeps dialing and getting a busy signal. So time runs out. Minnesota has to cough up the pick. Jacksonville moves in there because they're next. They get Leftwich. So Baltimore doesn't get him. And there it was. Leftwich, then Gross goes to Carolina. Kevin Williams winds up going to Minnesota. That turns out fine. And then Suggs gets picked by the Ravens, number 10.
Yeah, he gets stuck with the defensive player of the year.
Right, terrible. Second down and 8. Leftwich buying time and then throws, and it's caught up at the 50-yard line. And that time they can let out the Heath chant because that is the real Heath Miller.
It's unbelievable to watch Byron Leftwich move around like Ben Roethlisberger, though. I mean, this is a guy that had exactly 5 practice snaps the entire season coming into this week before he got a chance to do the first team reps this year. And he looked so comfortable on the field. I mean, he was just gliding around, moving easily. But he's got a little something working that we haven't quite figured out.
Yeah, we saw that at the end of the touchdown run on the 3rd play of the game. From the 49-yard line, a draw. And this time they give it to Dwyer. We saw him have a big night in Cincinnati. And Mike Tomlin was saying, hey, he's not Jerome Bettis, but he has those Bettis-like qualities.
Yeah, he is. But they are basically a between-the-tackle running football team. They run between the tackles more than anybody. And what they were hoping tonight with the return of Rashard Mendenhall is they would have the ability to stretch this Ravens defense a little bit outside. But so far, Rashard Mendenhall hasn't been able to pop one out there, so maybe they're just going to keep hammering inside.
2nd and 4 from the 45. And a little slip screen to Sanders, but the defense is right there with a marker down.
Illegal block in the back, number 89, offense. 10-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Jericho Cotchery. Chris talking about between the tackles. You would figure the Steelers, 62% of the runs inside the tackles, excluding draw plays, by far the highest percentage in the league. Only 5% of their runs outside the tackles. So you know where they're going. And 62% way above the league average. On 2nd and 14. And that pass is incomplete. Intended for the fullback, Will Johnson. Once more to the sidelines, and Michelle.
Well, you're mentioning the running game, and Mike Tomlin wanted to use all of his healthy running backs, Al, but Isaac Redman right now is in the locker room being evaluated for a concussion. One other note, defensive end Ziggy Hood is questionable with a back injury, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So Redman is back being evaluated. You've got Todd Haley as the new offensive coordinator. Last year he was the head coach of Kansas City. He gets Mendenhall back tonight. He has Dwyer, who's been dinged, but is playing tonight, obviously. And Chris Rainey is the other back. 3rd and 14, and Baron Batch is another back as well. And that elongated windup, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Emmanuel Sanders as Leftwich goes down. It'll be 4th down.
One of the issues with this big windup is if you get somebody hanging on you, like we've seen with Ben Roethlisberger over the years, you can't take that kind of windup. Leftwich, he didn't even know he did it until the first time he ever saw himself on tape. He said, I never had anybody coach me when I was young.
And Butler's kick is fair caught by Jones. Very nice night. No wind, temperature in the mid-40s, clear skies. This drive starts from the 20-yard line. And the ball is handed off to Bernard Pierce, the rookie out of Temple, picked in the 3rd round. The backup to Rice, tackled by Ike Taylor, gain of 4.
And so far this game has gone true to form. Neither team has converted a 3rd down yet. The Ravens 0 for 4, the Steelers 0 for 5. And last year in this game, the Ravens were 14 for 21, converting on 3rd down, unprecedented as far as the Ravens football team goes. Tonight, a different story.
2nd and 6 out of the gun. Inside give to Rice. Pittsburgh's done a good job bottling up Rice in most of their meetings since Ray came into the league as the second-round pick back in 2008, second behind Flacco. It'll be 3rd and 4.
James Harrison is trying to time up this snap count. He's looking right down the line of scrimmage, and he's either getting off just on the snap or just a moment ahead of time. But I think the Ravens are going to have to make an adjustment. They're going to have to get word to Matt Burke that Harrison's about to time one up.
And 3rd and 4. Pass is caught out in the flat by Rice, and he's able to pick up 4.5 yards out to the 31-yard line. Ray Rice, a guy who's very used to playing in this stadium, as he played at Rutgers, and they would meet Pitt in here through the years. Came to Baltimore, as we said, second-round pick back in 2008, and a guy who is one of the very few 3-down backs in the league who's in on almost every play. And needs a rest, he takes himself out of the game, but about as valuable as any running back in the league. From the 31-yard line, Flacco, and that is caught. That's with a flag thrown. Anquan Bolden makes the catch. He had Keenan Lewis right there with him. For the moment, it's a gain of 11.
Holding, number 23, defense. Penalty is declined. The result of the play is a completed pass for a first down.
Got the old cross blitz here, but watch Vontae Leach very patiently wait on the second guy, Lawrence Timmons, and pick it up. If you're going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, you have to be able to pick that one up. And once again, we've got Bolden on the outside working against Keenan Lewis. Probably going to see a lot of that now.
First down, quick toss, and this is Bolden, and that time the tackle is made right off the bat by Keenan Lewis after a gain of 2, 2nd and 8.
You know, this has been a big play team for John Harbaugh this year, one of the top teams in the league as far as deep completions down the field, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have been equally good against it. 0 for 14 coming into this game. Teams trying to throw the football down the field against them.
And we'll see what play call Cam Cameron just made on a 2nd down and 8 to Rice, and Ray has room to the outside. He gets to the 49, another penalty.
Holding, number 86, offense. 10-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
It's Billy Badgema who's going to see more action tonight because Pitt is out.
One of the problems that you have when you play this team is that if you have to try and block Lamar Woodley and James Harrison with tight ends, you don't often win. One of the things you'll see a lot of football teams do on offense is put in that extra offensive tackle guy on the outside because tight ends simply cannot handle these two outside linebackers in the running game.
Roethlisberger going over things with Batch on the sideline. 2nd down, 18. Jacoby Jones is split wide to the left, and the pass comes to the slot man. And that is Jones making the catch, and he is taken down after a short gain.
Jacoby Jones, though, has added an element to this offense, Al. He really has, because forever it had been Torrey Smith as the deep threat on one side, and then Anquan Bolden, who's much more of a possession kind of receiver. But now you have Jacoby Jones out there, and his ability to get deep and make plays has forced defenses to balance the formation a bit.
Right now he's the difference in the game with that punt return for the touchdown. 3rd and 13. And that's caught by Jones, but they sniffed that one out, and that's Lewis celebrating those last 2 stops.
Anquan Bolden tried to go get Keenan Lewis, just couldn't quite get there on the tail end of this play. Lewis has been jumping all over these routes, and of course these Steelers defensive backs, they see this all the time in practice because the Steelers running about 25% of their passing game.
Sam Cook. His 3rd punt of the night. It's a very short one, but takes a good Baltimore hop. And is down at the 21-yard line. 6 minutes to play in the half. Ravens by a field goal.
Thought we'd let you take a look at the difference in the release of those two quarterbacks. Ben Roethlisberger, a pretty traditional way of throwing the ball, sort of up and out. Now watch Byron Leftwich. A big wheelhouse there, a little bit more like a baseball pitcher maybe, and takes a little more time to get the ball out of his hands.
Great way to illustrate that is Leftwich, who scored the opening touchdown of the game less than a minute in, rolling right and buying time, and now he's chased and hit as he throws. That's Arthur Jones chasing him down. Second down.
And we'll show you the difference in the release time of these two quarterbacks. Big Ben gets it out about 0.37. That's pretty good. And Leftwich just about the same. How about the velocity here? A little over 50 miles an hour, about average in this league. Leftwich on the run anyway, a little bit harder than that. Of course, Ben will tell you he got a running start on that one, so it doesn't count.
Roethlisberger, the shoulder strain and a rib injury. And again, not knowing when he'll be back. They're at Cleveland next Sunday and then at Baltimore. And this will be before the snap here. Walt Anderson's had a pretty busy half.
There is no foul for the delay of game. We had to reset the position of the football. It's second down.
All right. Mike Tomlin. You know what he said about this game? He said it's going to be grimy. That's okay. We're mutters. We're a grimy bunch. We endure misery better than most.
He makes you want to play football, doesn't he?
Well, he is, and still the second youngest coach in the league. Second only to Dennis Allen of Oakland at age 40. To the outside, and that's caught by Wallace. And you know, Chris, I think about the two coaches tonight, and both franchises went young. They went to guys that people said, what? You're going to hire John Harbaugh, who was the special teams coach at Philadelphia for a long time, and Tomlin, who'd worked under Tony Dungy and then went to Minnesota. So in both instances, the fan base was shocked. And it's worked out pretty well.
You know, and arguably Mike Tomlin, when he came out, was the hottest defensive coordinator there is. You put him with Dick LeBeau. How much defensive knowledge is there on this staff?
Third down and 1. And trying to get that hard yard is Jonathan Dwyer. And I think they're going to be short. Putting the ball down at the 30-yard line. So Tomlin takes a longer look at it and then sends in the punting group on 4th and 1.
Ake Kemuatu, Arthur Jones right here, sat backside. They did not trust that the play was going to go front side and force the Steelers off the field.
And Jacoby Jones makes a fair catch. So Pittsburgh, after that opening thrust, nothing happening. 10-7 Baltimore. From the 28-yard line on first down, Bolden, gain of 7. Will Allen making the stop. Of course, there's the oversized helmet being worn by Ryan Clark, who has sustained concussions in 2 of the last 3 games.
Yeah, and but he had to be cleared by an independent neurologist, so you know, it must be all good. If he were my son, I might recommend against it, but apparently the doctor said he's a go.
Second down and 3. And slanting over the right side is Ray Rice for a first down. We go to Michelle.
Well, Ryan Clark told me that larger helmet, he does not like the look of it. He called it ugly. But he's decided that substance is better than style in this case. He wants to be safe. It's also lined with this Kevlar that James Harrison also has. But in order to accommodate this, they had to give him an even larger helmet. It's a size too big. If it gets awkward, they've got another helmet down here without the Kevlar should he get uncomfortable, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. From the 39-yard line, here is Rice. And Clark, of course, is the guy who has that sickle cell trait that precludes his playing at altitude, meaning he doesn't play in Denver, as was the case on opening night this year.
A little bit earlier we talked about Marshall Yanda cutting Casey Hampton. Watch this. You want to play nose tackle? That's what you get. And still Casey Hampton made the play. This is the nastiness of this rival. That's a legal block. There's nothing wrong with that. Except you make a lot of people mad.
2nd and 10. What do you think of that rule?
It is the #1 rule in the NFL, bar none, that makes defensive players crazy. It really is. The fact that, you know, with all the safety issues, all the things you can do, offensive coaches will tell you you will never be able to run the football if you can't chop the knees of the adjacent defensive lineman. And so it's gone back and forth in the league many times, but they've never outlawed it.
3rd and 10 from the 39-yard line. And Flacco has time, and here's Bolden spinning away from 2 defenders and picking up the first down. Anquan Bolden, in his 10th year in the league, got away from Ike Taylor, got away from Lawrence Timmons. 2 big names in a gain of 14.
This is brilliant. Watch this. He's dead. The Steelers give you this throw. You're going to do it. The 2 guys come out and make the tackle. Not that time. That is absolutely awesome.
6 catches for Bolden for 52 yards. And now Flacco throws high, intended for Torrey Smith. He's done a nice job on Smith tonight. 2nd and 10.
You know what they're doing? They're taking Ryan Clark and running him, whether he's at the line of scrimmage or back, underneath Torrey Smith on almost every play. So he's going to come up underneath here and take away that outcut. So that allows Ike Taylor to play deeper and take away the deep threat. So they're playing this in and out game between Clark and Ike Taylor, trying to take away Torrey Smith.
Smith does not have a catch tonight. 2nd and 10 from the 48. And Rice fights his way inside the 45, and that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning. And when play resumes, it'll be 3rd down and 7 from the 44-yard line for the Baltimore Ravens. 2 minutes to the half. Baltimore 10, Pittsburgh 7. From the 44 now on 3rd and 7, under pressure. The pass has gotten away to Bolden, but he will be tackled 2 yards shy of the first down. Larry Foote is there to make the stop.
Cameron Hayward that time got pressure right in the face of Joe Flacco. Just took Yosemite right back into him. James Harrison met him on the other side and gently took Joe Flacco to the ground.
Sam Cook now for his 4th punt and 9th total in the game, and Pittsburgh will take a timeout with 1.5 minutes to go. Ray Lewis torn triceps, hopes to be back before the end of the season. Meanwhile, Troy Polamalu fighting that calf strain, has played in only 2 games this season. Both came early, so they're in street clothes as Cook comes in to punt. Pittsburgh will get the ball and have 1 timeout, and Cook's punt will go into the end zone. So they will begin this drive from the 20. There's Jerome Bettis. The bus is back tonight. They'll be celebrated at halftime here. From the 20-yard line on 1st down, they run an inside draw to Dwyer, and he'll be forced out of bounds after a gain of 4 yards by Donnell Ellerbe. Well, Pittsburgh, the explosive first drive helped, of course, by the penalty, and then Leftwich took it in. So 2 plays plus the penalty. But since then, just 2 first downs for Mike Tomlin's offense.
Which makes the strategy here pretty interesting, because do you want to give Baltimore the ball back here? How much do you trust Leftwich on his own end?
2nd down and 6. To the outside, Dwyer, and he's going to get taken down. Setting up 3rd and short. That's Ellerbe making the stop. And again, on 3rd down, where they were converting about half the time, best percentage in the league, and tonight zipped for 6.
Yeah, and they went back to the huddle there to let this clock run down a little bit. I wonder if Harbaugh considered taking a timeout. Probably not, because if they convert, but they will if they don't.
3rd and 4, and Leftwich will throw, and that'll move the sticks. And Jericho Conchery is there to make the catch.
Boy, that is the 2nd time tonight they have just completely voided a zone. There was nobody in the flat. Corey Graham was the closest one out there as he tries to run underneath that, but you can see that was either, I think it's just a mistake. You don't leave somebody that wide open on 3rd and 5.
39 seconds now from the 38-yard line. And Leftwich guns it incomplete. Heath Miller, the intended target. It'll be 2nd and 10.
There's a lot of good pressure inside, but I'll tell you, these inside linebackers for the Baltimore Ravens, I think, have to be given some credit. You know, Ray Lewis goes out, who's been the heart and soul so much of this football team, and guys like Donnell Ellerbe, Jameel McClain stepped in. McClain's making all the signal calls now. You see Ellerbe with 2 broken thumbs. You can imagine trying to play linebacker in this league with 2 broken thumbs.
They're trying to intercept the pass.
Yeah.
2nd and 10. A deep drop by Leftwich. Has to check it down and throws incomplete. And talking about Ellerbe, there he was to get a hand on it.
Yeah, he might have had the interception if his hands were available to him. It went right between his hands. He's probably laughing about it a little bit himself, like, how you expect me to catch it with 2 broken thumbs? Comes up, goes right between his hands, and he would have had to bat that sucker in the air about 50 feet to have a chance at fair catch it. What do you want?
What am I supposed to do? Yeah. 3rd and 10. Blitz coming, and the pass is underthrown. Intended for Emmanuel Sanders, and the crowd getting a little frustrated.
Yeah, they picked up that blitz. They were bringing pressure that time, and so they had it. So now it's really on Emmanuel Sanders to win this one-on-one battle. They're going to bring some pressure here. Sort of read blitzes on the people staying in the backfield to block, and that's one you got to hit.
Drew Butler, his 6th punt. Fair caught by Jacoby Jones at the 15, and Jones is the difference in this game with that punt return after Pittsburgh coughed the ball up and Baltimore got a field goal, and then the punt return, and that's why it's 10-7.
You know, I've seen Byron Leftwich miss some throws that don't look to be that hard of throws. We've seen him sort of messing with his arm, his shoulder. He hasn't been getting a lot of attention on the sideline, so you think he's okay. They're talking with Charlie Batch. But those are throws that you just don't typically expect an NFL quarterback to miss.
Leftwich in the half is 7 of 17 for 85 yards, and Baltimore will head to the locker room after a Flacco kneel down. So we've played 30 minutes in this intense rivalry, and the Baltimore Ravens lead the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 10-7. And that's halftime. Baltimore 10, Pittsburgh 7. Beautiful shot of downtown Pittsburgh. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. So Baltimore doing nothing on the ground, and through the air, 116-78. Total yards about even, and Pittsburgh had that one turnover which Baltimore cashed in for 3 points. But that the Jacoby Jones run back is the difference in the game. As Baltimore tries to go 2 games up on Pittsburgh, a Pittsburgh win, and they would be tied for first place in the AFC North as the second half begins. Jones a couple of yards in, out past the 20, and another good run back for Jacoby Jones out to the 31. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, I spoke with Jim Harbaugh, and he said after the Steelers scored that first touchdown on their opening drive, his defense settled down. Now, they've only run for 20 yards, but he said we're going to keep on running the ball. We've got to get our offense going. But emphatically, he said we have got to complete passes. As for Mike Tomlin, he said, well, this is the kind of game we expected. It's grimy and ugly. He said special teams needs to even the score. I asked him about Leftwich out. He said he's fine, but running back Isaac Redman is out with a concussion.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So Redman out, Leftwich in the half with 7 of 17. Flacco hands the ball off to Rice, and Rice for a gain of 8, which is big news tonight for him because he was 10 for 13 yards prior to that 8-yard run.
Misdirection that time. Fullback goes this way, Rice goes that way. Just try and give him a little curveball. Watch Rice with these jump cuts in there. You know, he can make a 7-yard run, think you're watching a show.
And on second and short, and this is Rice, and he gets stood up as he reaches the 40-yard line and is very close to a first down. Walt Anderson eyes the sideline, then moves the ball back a few inches, and it's going to be a third down. Right.
I'm sure that John Harbaugh is thinking, say what?
Yeah.
It was right on the line, looked like a first down, and then he moved it back.
Third and inches. Get Baltimore playing without Dennis Pitta, done for the night. Go double tight end here, and Rice is going to get stuffed. Lamar Woodley, the first guy there. So after he reels off 8, he gets 1.5 yards, and then he is stopped for no gain, and it's fourth down.
Ziggy Hood, Lamar Woodley, look at this jam up in here. That is Woodley, just took him straight backwards, and the same trend we saw in the first half, neither team being able to run the football, carries over to the second half now.
Sam Cook to punt. Emmanuel Sanders sets up at his own 15-yard line. And Sanders makes the fair catch at the 15. See if the Pittsburgh offense can get something going. So the Steelers with their first possession of the second half, and they start with Mendenhall up to the 19. So Pittsburgh got off to that blazing start, touchdown, 2 plays plus the penalty, but then a fumble which set up a field goal, and then 6 consecutive drives ending in punts.
Going to hurry the pace here a little bit.
Going no huddle on second down and 6. And chugging his way for a gain of about 4 is Mendenhall. Again, has played very little this year with the knee surgery coming off of that, plus the Achilles issue. It'll be 3rd and 2.
Yeah, Terrell Suggs going to squeeze this thing down inside. Almost miraculous that he's even playing football out here after the Achilles surgery that he went through. Didn't even know he did it. When he did it, he thought he just sprained his ankle. The grass slipped or something. Said it was just devastating when he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him it'd be 12 months before he could play again. Said he didn't even remember driving home from there, but he was thinking, no way, 12 months.
3rd and 2, and Leftwich going deep downfield, and stretching out is Sanders to make the catch to the Baltimore 39-yard line. Going deep on 3rd and 2. And Sanders for a gain of 37.
First of all, going to double team on the outside, make sure that Suggs is under control on Mike Adams' side. But you're going to see the safety come up. That's Ed Reed. They're in that quarters coverage, and the one play that's always there, if you can figure out on the fly that it's that quarters coverage, is the post. Maybe they'll take advantage of Corey Graham.
is Jonathan Dwyer.
Dwyer, the ball carrier.
Gaining 1, 2nd down and 9.
Go back to that prior play here, and you'll see the right down there come up for the safety. You're going to bring one safety down the line of scrimmage, and then Ed Reed's trying to jump the underneath route, opening up that post. It's like some kind of strange miscommunication back there.
2nd and 9. Dwyer. 3rd down and 8. Well, you talk about strange miscommunication. Reed involved in that, Chris, and you wonder at this point in his career, he's been around a long time, 11 years, still regarded as one of the best. But at what point does your reputation exceed your performance?
Well, they still need him on that back end, trying to get everything organized, especially without Ray Lewis in there. And he's still very big play capable. You know, like a lot of great players, I think occasionally they get beat trying to do too much. Troy Polamalu on occasion is just going to flat out guess from his film study, and sometimes they get caught.
3rd and 8. And Leftwich guns it, and it's intercepted by Corey Graham. And Graham will take it out to the 39-yard line. Corey Graham with a big pick as Leftwich gunned it over the middle. And you got a scrum going on the Baltimore sideline. Heath Miller is there. The tackle Adams is there. And Leftwich goes back to his sideline. And Roethlisberger can only look on after the interception by the former Bear, Graham.
Corey Graham with a big-time interception against Byron Leftwich, and really just sort of fooled him into thinking he was going to settle underneath in the underneath coverage, cut off the Steelers receiver, and then undercut him. You expect for the most part that underneath coverage to not drop back, but Corey Graham fooled Leftwich and got it.
First down, that pass is caught by Anquan Bolden. So right off the bat, they take it to the 39-yard line of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And Keenan Lewis again is going to get a full dose here of Anquan Bolden. They ran James Harrison underneath the out. So now the adjustment's made and they're coming back inside.
And they go quickly on the snap. And that is Clark pointing to his helmet. That oversized helmet as he makes the tackle there on Rice, 2nd and 5.
Well, I tell you, Ryan Clark has really stepped up without Troy Polamalu in the lineup. Watch him come fill this inside out. A guy that's had 2 concussions in the last 3 weeks saying, Kevlar, got it. Don't worry about it.
Game of 4, he comes out of the game now. It's 2nd down and 6. And off the play fake, going to Bolden, and he is double covered there. It'll be 3rd down. Allen and Lewis on the coverage.
Well, if you want to know why they're going to Bolden so much, we'll show you the other side of the field. Ike Taylor going up against Torrey Smith, and he has been on him. That was the switch that they made. They determined that Torrey Smith, the bigger threat, they wanted to take him out of the game with their best corner, and so far it has worked. Often they'll double team him with the guy underneath. Ryan Clark, more often than not, strategy working so far for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Taylor pitching a shutout against Smith. 3rd and 6. And Flacco has to check it down underneath, and he hits Rice, and Rice spins away and gets the first down. Ran around Larry Foote, takes it to the 27, 1st down.
Well, this is a play that took a little while to develop, and let's give Michael Orr, the left tackle, a little credit for handling James Harrison. And then it's Ray Rice, and there's just really not any way in the world that Larry Foote is going to be able to stay with Ray Rice coming down the middle of the field where he can break either way. Too much to ask if you give him that much time.
From the 27-yard line, Flacco going to his tight end, Ed Dixon. To the 20 he goes. So this drive set up by that Graham interception Corey Graham playing a lot more than they thought. He was acquired basically to help improve the special teams, but with the injuries to Ladarius Webb, to Jimmy Smith, he's playing a lot more. Had 3 picks last year, has 1 tonight, 5 for his career.
And a veteran guy that really sort of set Leftwich up there. I didn't think he was going to back underneath that coverage either. It looked like he was the underneath guy and fooled him. Brett Kiesel in there, had a great game, got the tip of the game-winning interception last week.
And Flacco throwing, and the pass is incomplete. Lewis is right there covering Bolden, making it 3rd down and 4.
One of the problems that Anquan Bolden has, he's not a speedster by any means, so Keenan Lewis now deciding, let's just get up and see if he can run by me one time, and I kind of like his odds a little bit better in the bump and run. Other side, Ike Taylor, Torrey Smith. Ike Taylor's having a nice game.
Very good. Terrific, in fact. 3rd and 4.
3 by 1 again. You get one-on-one with Torrey Smith at the top of your screen.
We'll break out of that just for the moment. Now come back to a 3 by 1. And rolling to that side is Flacco throwing, and it's Jones there incomplete. Lewis covering on the play, making it 4th down, and in comes the field goal group.
Tell you, Keenan Lewis is stepping up his game here as well. They got him a few times the first half, but Jacoby Jones can run too, and he's right there on 3rd down to force the field goal attempt. Well, I tell you, when you're the other cornerback, we see it so many times, get a lot of balls thrown your way until you can prove they shouldn't be doing it.
39-yard attempt, Justin Tucker. It's harder kicking to the open end of the field, but there's almost no wind at all tonight. And Tucker's kick is good after he had missed one earlier, good from 39. And the Ravens are up by 6 in Pittsburgh. Chris Rainey from 3 yards in the end zone. And that Baltimore special teams unit just continues to do its job as they have all season long. 6-point game. At Palisades Park in New Jersey, they used to have a ride called the Loop-de-Loop. We have our own Loop-de-Loop here.
He does. He's got a big motion, and it was interesting talking to him about it. And he said, you know, I didn't have a quarterback coach to teach me how to throw when I was growing up. He said, we just threw rocks, and that's kind of the motion you use to throw rocks. And he just carried it right into about a 10-year career in the National Football League.
From the 16-yard line on 1st down. And Leftwich. Hit as the catch is made at the 12-yard line. Bernard Pollard takes care of Mendenhall. Again, to set the importance of this game, if Baltimore wins, they're up by 2. Huge. If Pittsburgh wins, they're tied for the top spot. They don't have the tiebreak. And we saw what that meant last year. They both finished 12-4. Baltimore had home field except for the New England game. Pittsburgh got T-bowed.
Yeah, they sure did. And this game is just setting up, to me, to be another one of those finishes. But at some point now, Leftwich is going to have to prove that he can work this ball down the field and get the passing game going.
2nd and 14. That's Jonathan Dwyer. And Dwyer breaking tackles.
We might start screaming bus here in a minute. Is that what the bus used to do, that little thing around his helmet? Maybe he was trying to take on the persona here. He's stuck. This is not going to be a 1st down. He picks up the final 4 yards after contact. One of the top guys in the league as far as after contact yardage. And here you're going to see it. He gets drilled. He still picks it up.
On 1st down from the 27. Again. To the 35. Talking about these two teams and the rivalry, they had the same record in 2009. They both finished 12-4 in 10 and 11. And this year the Ravens come in 7-2. Pittsburgh comes in 6-3. Again, that speaks to what we talked about. Only one team can win the division. The other, no matter what your record is, as was the case with Pittsburgh last year, you become a wild card and you go on the road as they did at Denver. Dwyer again to the 45-yard line. So Jonathan Dwyer, Mike Tomlin describing him to us last month as a guy who's had Bettis-like tendencies.
Sure does. And if just keep trying to jump inside here, there are going to be big holes. But for Dwyer, he has a little bit of that Bettis quality to him. As defenses wear down in the second half, sometimes those big backs can be really effective, and looks like they're staying with the hot hand.
He needs a breather. Mendenhall comes back in. And Mendenhall with his 6th carry of the night. It's a gain of 4 to the 49. You know, the one thing about Pittsburgh, no matter how much success they've had over the past few years, including the Super Bowl victory in 08, the knock on them has always been the offensive line.
Yeah, and you know, it has a chance to end up being a real strength because David Castro, the first-round draft pick, is hurt, but more than likely he'll be coming back. Marcus Gilbert, second-round pick a year ago, is going to be getting healthy soon. So they're going to have essentially 7 starters to pick from here pretty soon.
2nd and 6. Now Leftwich will swing it out. That's a backward pass to Mendenhall. And Mendenhall comes close to picking up the first down.
Well, this is what you're hoping for out of Rashard Mendenhall here. And Terrell Suggs got a semi-horse collar on that one. Grabs the jersey and then lets it go. So the officials let it go. It was definitely a tug. He ends up just short of the first down, so that not being called could be significant here.
Goes into the books as a run because it was a backward pass, so it's 3rd down and a short one. Batch is the tailback, and they give it to him, and he'll pick up the first down as he gets to the 42. So Redmond is done for the night. You got Mendenhall, you got Dwyer, and now you got Batch, and we go to Michelle.
Well, these two teams will play again in 2 weeks, and I spoke to Ben Roethlisberger before the game. He said he's expecting to undergo further evaluation of his injuries this week, Al. He hopes then he'll have an indication of when he can practice again. Right now, he has no idea what the timetable is. I asked him how he feels physically, just standing here on the sidelines. He said it doesn't feel good, and emotionally, he said awful any night but this one.
Thank you, Michelle. So he's going to miss tonight, obviously, maybe Cleveland next week, and then, as you say, in Baltimore in 2 weeks. Off play action. Leftwich fires, finds the open man at the 21-yard line, and then there's Emmanuel Sanders, and a flag comes in at the end on the hit by Reed.
This is the same play they hit on some big 3rd downs in the game against Kansas City last week. Really just basically a 2-man route, and Sanders coming across the field, and it looked like Ed Reed. The discussion is, was that helmet to helmet?
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 20, defense. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Go with the play action fake, and you're going to get the deep crosser in here. Linebackers don't react quite quickly enough. You can see Ed Reed was chasing the post and wheeled back around. And there's no doubt it was helmet to helmet.
So it's a 20-yard gain. It's an 11-yard penalty. Miller on Suggs there. Dwyer is the running back out of the shotgun from the 11-yard line on first down. And Leftwich to the corner of the end zone and swatted away. Intended for Conchery. Corey Graham get his hand on it, and it'll be 2nd down and 10.
Boy, that's a nice play by Corey Graham. They tried to pick him on the inside, but they don't get him, and he fights his way through that pick just like you'd have to in basketball. Gets his head. That's just a tremendous football play right there. Corey Graham has really stepped up in this game with some of the injuries they've got on the outside.
Big time. 2nd down and 10. Minute and a half to go in the quarter. This drive began back at the Pittsburgh 16. This is the 10th play. Before they can get it off, going to go against the Steelers.
This is the first charge timeout, Baltimore.
Threw a flag, but they took the timeout before the snap. Timeout Baltimore. Well, Walt Anderson said timeout Baltimore. We were trying to figure out why, and then he corrected it. It was a timeout called by Pittsburgh before the play clock ran down. So it's 2nd down and 10 from the 11-yard line. 10th play of the drive. And the handoff goes to Dwyer. Great series for him. Inside the 5 to the 3. 3rd and short upcoming.
Tell you, there's been a great battle going on inside all night with the center Marquise Pouncey going up against Maake Kimuatu. He just pulls him out of there on that one. Boy, it's tough. You watch him, and he is just one of those tenacious, works every down, never gives up on a block. As good as there is in the game playing center.
3rd and 2, final minute of the quarter. And the play clock going down again, and they're going to have to burn another timeout. So Pittsburgh will go down the stretch with only 1 timeout remaining. So Pittsburgh having to take 2 timeouts in the last 46 seconds. A 3rd and 2 upcoming against the Baltimore defense, 27th in the league, as we mentioned at the top, but best in the league in the red zone. No touchdowns allowed in the last 8 red zone drives, trying to make it 9, trying to limit them to a field goal. 3rd and 2. Dwyer is the back. And a little fade in the corner of the end zone. No, he's out of bounds. Mike Wallace. Graham with the coverage on the play, and Williams is there too. So he's out of bounds, and it will be 4th down.
Ran the old pick play. Jericho Cotry on the outside is going to set the edge, and they're going to wheel to the outside. Really had it. You can see Kerry Williams couldn't get there, but just didn't leave enough football field. Oh boy, he really had a chance to get those feet down. At that moment, you've got to. He made such a great catch a week ago against Kansas City, and just never got his feet timed out on that
one. 22-yarder by Sweezum. He's good. 34 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. 3-point game. And setting up for another typical Baltimore-Pittsburgh finish.
You know, it really is. And now you have to wonder. Those are huge mistakes, though, to burn those 2 timeouts at this point in the game. Especially now you're still trailing. You're going to possibly need it. You're probably going to have to kick into the open end to win the game with a field goal.
Baltimore on top. They would take a 2-game lead and have a victory in Pittsburgh in hand, or in effect Pittsburgh would be in first place, even though they'd both be 7-3 by virtue of winning this one. Bengals getting hot again, 5-5, and the Browns losing in Dallas today, 2-8.
These games really are something, though. No matter what you think, and boy, the offenses can be coming in and high flying, and you know the Ravens set a team record for most points scored a week ago. But you knew, no Troy Polamalu. Okay, it's a defense. It doesn't matter. When these 2 teams play, it's going to come down to the wire. They're going to be special teams plays made like the one Jacoby Jones made earlier on the punt return, and it's going to be decided in the 4th quarter.
Well, that's the only Baltimore touchdown of the night on the punt return by that man. Sweezum's kick is a ground ball. It's dropped and then picked up at the 18-yard line. And it's Anthony Allen running it back, and Anthony Allen staying alive, and he's a running back by trade, playing on special teams. Finally stopped by Brown out at the 36-yard line. Smith and Taylor tonight, and this one's been won to this point by Swaggin, Ike Taylor.
Yeah, it really has been, and you get the feeling if the Ravens are going to get something going on the offensive side, at some point you've got to at least take a shot with Torrey Smith. But I think because of the game they're playing with running Ryan Clark out underneath, it's allowing Ike Taylor to play a little bit off, and so you never really get the feel as to whether or not you can take your shot to get a deep throw off.
From the 36-yard line, they start with Pierce as the running back. To the outside, that pass is too tall for Anquan Bolden. And Bolden this time covered by Taylor. Came over to the other side, 2nd and 10.
Yeah, that may be a little bit of the answer. If you put Torrey Smith in the slot, then Ike Taylor staying outside. Ike Taylor's a guy that I think very unfairly takes some heat around Pittsburgh whenever he has a bad game. This guy gets the best the other team has to offer every single week, allowing the other guy to take the softer touch, and he takes it sometimes.
Been doing it for 10 years. Rice up to the 38. Isn't that always the case with a cornerback? I mean, you're always exposed. Even the great ones have their days when they are the subject of every talk radio show the next morning.
Well, and the most important thing in the NFL is who draws double teams and who can avoid double teams. If Ike Taylor can play one-on-one coverage against the other team's best receiver, you get help on the rest of the field.
Into the third, 13-10 Baltimore. Third and 8 for the Ravens from their own 38-yard line.
Oh, James Harrison's flipping around in the middle like he's going to get a running start on this blitz.
And Flacco will go down after pump faking. Down at the 30-yard line on a sack by Woodley.
Mara Woodley's going to come all the way around this side, but you saw all the games inside. James Harrison came off the edge and then the other way, and that is a great sign. If Harrison and Woodley can get going again, that's only their 5th sack of the season after averaging 22 and a half the last 4 years between them.
And Pittsburgh's first sack in the game. Cook's punt. Fielded at the 23-yard line. And Emmanuel Sanders brings it back to the 30-yard line.
Sanders on the return.
39 seconds into the fourth quarter. We'll look at some of the numbers, and of course the two defenses tonight. Flacco 18 of 29, but only 153. And Leftwich 11 of 24, so under 50% with the one pick.
But I tell you, with the way that Dwyer got the running game going that last series, you saw then it set up the play action for Leftwich, and that's what the Ravens have been unable to do tonight, is get their running game going. So I would imagine they're going to stick with this run and see if they can set up their pass again.
Well, they've rushed for 114 yards against the Ravens in 3 quarters. Instead, they go to the air on first down, and they swing it out to Mendenhall. And Mendenhall will be tackled just short of the first down by Donnell Ellerby.
Now, this is a team that's so tough to try and run outside against the Baltimore Ravens. So now what the Steelers are countering with is bringing Mendenhall into the game and just swinging him out of the backfield. This is the second time in 2 straight series that we've seen that. And so it's effectively a pitch, a run play, only they're doing it out of the passing game.
2nd and 1. And then Mendenhall this time swings it back and picks up a first down at the 43-yard line.
Well, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with Mendenhall's Achilles now. He looked like he's on Dancing with the Stars on this one. He's all over the place. And then it's Bernard Pollard, who is really becoming a little Troy Polamalu like for the Baltimore Ravens. He's down a lot more, getting some sacks. Set that edge on that one.
Leftwich hanging in, throws underneath, and that's caught by Wallace up at the 44-yard line. And we've been looking at Leftwich all night long. You know, sometimes hunched over, grabbing for the shoulder. Same thing here.
Watch Kruger now. He's going to get double teamed by both backs and still managed to fight his way through there. And Leftwich again looking really uncomfortable after whatever contact was made there.
First start for him since 09. He has not won a game as a starter since 06.
He's not coming out of this game, though, is he?
No. Charlie Batch is the backup. 2nd and 8. Rolling, getting chased, and then he just scoops the ball out of bounds. No grounding here outside the pocket, so it's 3rd down and 8.
He's really looking uncomfortable, though. I don't know exactly what it is that's going on with him, but you can see him sort of grab that side again. It just looks like he's moving a little bit gingerly now. And this is when they need to start. Yeah, there's Charlie Batch warming up on the sideline, and you just wonder. Mike Tomlin seeing the same thing we're seeing.
3rd and 8. And low snap, avoids the sack for the moment, then dumps it off to Dwyer. And Jonathan Dwyer reaching for what might be a first down. Paul Kruger came in, almost had the sack. They're not going to give him the spot that he thought he'd gotten. And there's Leftwich looking uncomfortable again.
This is brilliant. I mean, this is as good as you get. He escapes Kruger and then does like a jump shot over the top, and he gets the thing to Dwyer. And I thought Dwyer had this first down, but we'll see. I didn't see his knee go down. I thought he would have been given the full lunge there.
Yeah.
I didn't see any contact before that ball crossed the yellow line, at least on our screen.
Well, the crowd doesn't like the spot. That is a challengeable play if Mike Tomlin wants to challenge. One of the problems is they only have one timeout left. So if Tomlin, he's got the flag in his hand, now the timeouts come into question as well.
But you have to take that. This is huge.
Well, either that or you just go for it on 4th. And the crowd's looking at it again. Now you're going to just hope if you throw the challenge flag, if you lose the challenge, you're out of timeouts. And Tomlin figures it looks good enough for him to challenge it. So we'll see if they pick up the first down after Walt Anderson
is
goes
challenging
under
the
the hood.
ruling on the field that the runner was short of the line of game.
The answer when we come back. All right, we're waiting for the answer here. This is going to be extremely close, and we'll show you the replay, obviously. Here it is again. Now, it's when his elbow goes down. Where is the ball when his elbow goes down? Remember, the officials cannot look at this with the yellow line. The elbow's down. The yellow line, as you know, we've told you a million times, is unofficial. So he's inside the 48 just barely. Another look from this angle, and that's exactly where the sticks are. So that's where they're going to mark the ball. Left elbow down, where the ball is at that point. Again, Anderson can't see the yellow line. He then has to determine exactly where he's going to place the ball and then bring the sticks back out into the middle of the field.
Yeah, I think it's obvious with the yellow line that it was a first down. But again, we have looked at this from a lot of different angles, and without the benefit of that yellow line, it is much tougher to discern exactly where that ball should be spotted.
So if they lose the challenge, it's 4th down and a couple of inches, and they would be out of timeouts. Otherwise, it's a first down, and he'd still have his timeout. Replay booth, we're being told by our producer Fred Godelli, they've frozen it right there. So Anderson, without the yellow line, has to place the ball at that spot. Here we go.
After reviewing the play, the runner's forward progress was the 47.5-yard line. We will spot the ball at that point and remeasure.
You know, it's unbelievable on something this inexact. I mean, now he's basically going to go out there and say 47.5, which is right about here, and they moved it up about a half a yard and probably now gives them the first down. But I think they actually get it right at the end of the day, but not by much.
We'll see. This is going to be like 1 or 2 links either way here. Here we go. Ooh, look at this. Look at this. Could it be any closer?
Took some guts to challenge that one.
It does.
But it paid off big time.
Will not be charged with a timeout.
We've seen Tomlin going for it on 4th down on more than one occasion this year. Glad he doesn't have to here.
Right. Salute to Red Cashin. First down from the 47.5. We know exactly where it is right now. They're on a draw with Mendenhall picking up a hard 1.5 yards to the 46-yard line.
All right, now we're getting Bernard Pollard coming up, creeping around, helping on the line of scrimmage against the run, which means that on the outside now, you are going to have Mike Wallace with one-on-one coverage opportunities that he really has not had much tonight. So let's see. Let's follow along with Pollard now. Are they going to play pass? Are they going to play run? Well, it looks like they're backed up a little bit after having success against the run on 1st down.
2nd and 9. Down the right sideline and out of bounds was Will Johnson. Sent the fullback down the sideline, covered by Courtney Upshaw. 3rd and 9.
Tell you, we have seen Courtney Upshaw play just about everywhere for the Baltimore Ravens. A week ago, he was out there playing nose tackle and everything else, and now here he comes, feet out of bounds. Nice job. You know, Upshaw is one of those guys. He's kind of tweener in a lot of things, but well coached, and he has taken on a big role for a young player in this league.
2nd round pick from Arizona. 3rd down and 9 from Alabama as down goes Leftwich on a sack by Haloti Ngata. Bothered by a shoulder injury, suited last week but didn't play at all, and I think that's the first time in a while we've called his name tonight.
Well, they were bringing the blitz, and he had to come through. Max Starks had to handle Suggs on the outside, and he really kind of didn't either. He was stuck between and betwixt and decided that he couldn't get to either one of them, I guess.
4th and 19, and back to the 12-yard line is Doss running this one back up to the 19. So make sure you know that Upshaw went to Alabama.
Gotcha.
Number 2 in the country to
see him
Notre
in the
Dame.
national championship game.
Yeah. 3-point game, 10-13 left in the 4th. Ray Rice takes it out to the 24-yard line.
A little pressure starting to get there now. We're seeing Lamar Woodley, who's been playing much better of late, starting to have a little bit of impact on the game. This is the old style Pittsburgh Steelers, where if you couldn't block these 2 outside linebackers, you couldn't win. Woodley's starting to crank up the heat a little. Good pressure that time.
Second and 6, Rice to the outside. And that's going to set up a big 3rd down and 2. Tackled there by Cameron Hayward.
Well, this is what the Kansas City Chiefs had great success with last week, this stretch play. But so far tonight, Ray Rice just unable to get anything going. 15 carries for 28 yards before that one. And because of that, the passing game, the play action, just hasn't been there.
Averaging 2 yards a carry tonight is Rice. 3rd and 2. 4-man rush, and the pass is incomplete. Intended for Jones, covered by Lewis. The punt.
Yeah, you've got to give Keenan Lewis some credit up here at the top of the screen. Since he has moved up and started playing bump and run all over the field, he has really been effective. He's been able to take out Bolden. He's been able to take out Jacoby Jones. It's a key part of this game so far.
Sam Cook, his 7th kick of the night. Sanders collects it at the 21-yard line. And it's a 4-yard return to the 25-yard line with 8.5 to go in regulation. Ravens by 3. From the 25-yard line, a 3-point game. Leftwich winding up and throwing to the outside, and that'll be caught by Kochery, and it'll be enough for a first down.
Well, you're looking at the strength of Byron Leftwich right there. They thought they were going to do more of these mirrored routes, which is basically the same sort of out cuts or whatever on the outside of the field, and it takes a huge arm. But I tell you, every time Leftwich makes a throw like that, he comes up like he's in great pain, and I don't think Mike Tomlin cares. Like, you know, hey.
Obviously.
Don't care.
Yeah, when Batch was warming up, he had his wool hat on from the 36-yard line. Leftwich is now 15 of 30 for 183. And scooting his way forward is Dwyer, who looked like he was stopped after a gain of 3 or 4, and turns out to be a couple more than that. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, Al and Chris, I can tell you that as much as Leftwich has been wincing and looking hurt the entire time he was on the bench before returning to the field, no attention from the athletic trainers, no attention from the medical staff, nothing at all.
Well, Michelle, I think the training staff is used to a little drama with their quarterbacks here, aren't they? 2nd and 3 from the 43. And here goes Dwyer again. And again with that hard running, he gains so much of his yardage after contact, as did, of course, Mr. Bettis. First down.
This is just all guts and Pittsburgh Steeler fight and Jerome Bettis courage. I love watching this guy play. We saw him in Cincinnati have the big game, and he is just a Pittsburgh Steeler kind of back. They played the highlights of Jerome Bettis during halftime. This place went crazy like it was just happening.
12 carries, 55 yards for Dwyer. The ball at the 48-yard line. This is Mendenhall. Gain of 3. The ball now in Baltimore territory as we tick down to 6.5 to go.
Now they're starting to get a little of this action going now. One of the things that's working is this sort of counter OT play where they're pulling the backside fullback and tight ends and tackles around, and they're attacking the defensive right side now of the Ravens, and they're starting to get, 3, 4, 5 yards a clip, and pretty soon they'll be able to use that play action pass again.
Well, averaging 104 through week 10 tonight, 135 against this Baltimore defense. 2nd and 6, backpedaling and then throwing incomplete. Intended for Mendenhall. Pollard was there. 3rd down and 6.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when you get man coverage on a screenplay. That time Bernard Pollard is just sitting right out here, and that's his guy, so he comes out on the screen and they're just standing right beside him. Good job by Leftwich just dumping it into the ground.
From the 49, with Roethlisberger looking on, 3rd and 6. To the outside, Miller reaching, trying to get the first down. It's going to be close. Ellerby covering on the play. spot the ball at a point where Mike Tomlin comes over and says, I'll help you out. It's a first down.
Well, that time you had Heath Miller in the backfield, and then the coverage coming from Ellerbe on the outside. Does he get it? I think he does. So that yellow line is becoming more and more friendly to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ellerbe, as well as he runs, was unable to get to Heath Miller on that one.
Spotted at the 42. They've done a good job on Miller tonight. Only 2 catches for the tight end for 22 yards. Mendenhall stepping over Suggs, but can't get by Ellerbe. Stop shy of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think Suggs has seen enough of this running game. Watch this one. He's going to come shooting and hit the puller right in his kneecap. Just completely destroyed the play. Mendenhall was able to hurdle over the top, but Suggs has seen enough of that sort of crackback stuff from Willie Colon coming across the field. This is the time of the game when star players like Terrell Suggs tend to take over. Keep an eye on Kruger as well. He's been a difference maker tonight.
2nd and 11. Good protection. Pass is one-hopped. Incomplete by Wallace. 3rd and 11.
I don't know if he's hurting or not, but that's a big miss. You just can't put that any other way. This is great protection. Plenty of time to wind up, step into the throw, and one-hop it. You know, it looked like Wallace actually could have made a little bigger effort to come scoop that thing up.
This is a bigger play than would otherwise normally be because of the timeout situation. Give the ball back to Baltimore. They can only stop it once. 3rd and 11, and look out, he gets sacked big time by James Ahedebo. James Ahedebo hasn't even been in there that much tonight. All of a sudden comes in on a safety blitz and sacks him.
They just brought too many guys to this side. They got 3, and Ahedebo is going to loop down inside once the 2 other blockers are occupied. And Leftwich just didn't pick it up.
So they're forced to punt on a 4th and 18. Jacoby Jones calls for the fair catch and makes it at the 14-yard line. And now Baltimore can begin to go to work on the clock as they go to work on Leftwich on the sideline. Leftwich up and walking around. Went to commercials, saw him on the bench. Batch was warming up. But first things first, that Pittsburgh defense has to get a 3 and out with this clock situation right now. And finally, Torrey Smith makes a catch, takes it to the 20-yard line, his first catch of the night, and we go back to the Ahedebo sack.
Well, you're going to see they've got 3 linemen sliding this way. They should have had these 3 picked up, but Willie Colon in the middle there takes the inside guy, does not realize the outside pressure is coming. Remember, this is his first year at guard, and they just miscalculated on that protection, and Byron Leftwich paid a heavy price for it.
2nd down and 3. Rice. And Rice appears to have the first down. And again, with that situation with just 1 timeout plus the 2-minute warning, that is a huge first down.
Yeah, and they're 1 timeout or 1 first down away from ending this thing here. And Ray Rice, who hasn't really gotten anything going at all, it's his time now.
Ravens taking all the time they need now before snapping it. Will be under 3 minutes. 1st and 10 at the 24-yard line. Rice again to the 25, and a flag comes in.
Tripping, number 50, defense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Ooh, Larry Foote, after they'd stopped him. Foote with a penalty and a first down.
Foote's going to shoot the gap here, and he is going to swing his legs around. I'm not sure he made too much contact, but he definitely was trying. I don't know if you can get called for trying to trip, but pretty tough call.
Out to the 35, and all Polamalu can do is watch along with Roethlisberger. From the 35-yard line. Here's Rice. Rice up to the 39-yard line. So does Pittsburgh want to take its timeout here on this side of the 2-minute warning?
Well, regardless of where they take the timeout, this is it. They cannot allow another first down. So much on the line in this game for Baltimore to come in here and basically have one touchdown on a punt return and beat Pittsburgh in their house. Huge ramifications all around the AFC.
2nd and 7. Rice again. Simple little run to the right to the 39-yard line. It's going to be 3rd down. And now Pittsburgh, do they get the timeout before the 2-minute warning clock ticks down? They try to call timeout on the front side of it. And Walt Anderson is going to have a conference about when they called it. Tomlin was trying to get it.
This is the 3rd and final timeout, Pittsburgh. The timeout was called at 2:04. Please reset the game clock to 2:04.
All right, their last timeout, then it will stop at the 2-minute warning. So clearly what the Steelers have to do is stop them on this play. Well, we started the night by calling it 4 quarters of fury and maybe even overtime with these guys. Who knows? It's Baltimore and it's Pittsburgh. And we've been seeing this for a number of years, Chris.
It's as good as it gets for my money. It really is. And I've been in a part of this game for long enough to know now that everybody on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is saying, keep your eyes on Ray Rice. This is the moment where you have to cover Ray Rice out of the backfield, maybe a run, maybe a pass. He is the guy you have to protect against first here.
3rd and 7 as we go to the 2-minute warning after this play. You get a flag. There may have been an offside. Flacco is going to go down, but it might have been Kiesel. I couldn't tell on the
I think it was
line.
Woodley too. I thought Woodley jumped it.
If it is offside, it's going to be 3rd down and 2.
Offsides, number 99, defense. It's a 5-yard penalty. It's still 3rd down. And this is the 2-minute warning.
And now it's the 2-minute warning.
Right.
That's a key right there, so it doesn't get to stop.
Exactly. It's going to cost them 40
there
seconds, even if they stop them.
2 guys offsides on a veteran football team.
3rd and 2 when we come back. That penalty so big in 2 ways. Number 1, it turns a 3rd and 7 to a 3rd and 2. They get a first down, the game's over. Even if they don't get the first down, they can run almost all of the time off the 40-second clock. So by the time Pittsburgh gets the ball, it'll be down to 115, 110, somewhere in that neighborhood. So a huge penalty committed by the Steelers defense. 3rd and 2. It comes down to, does the game end here, or does Pittsburgh have one last gasp?
This is the first charge timeout, Baltimore, 30-second timeout.
And then Baltimore takes a timeout.
Yeah, I think they were looking at personnel, wanted to see what Pittsburgh was going to run out there. And of course now Dick LeBeau has the option of going elsewhere. It's the one thing the Ravens were hoping to do is drag this thing into the 4th quarter because the Steelers don't substitute a lot. Thought they had a chance to wear this defense down, but the Steelers defense hasn't worn down at all. They haven't allowed a touchdown yet in this one.
As usual, Wendy's postgame report will be coming up. Jets.
Here we go again, down to the last 2 minutes with these 2 teams again.
Crowd in full throat. Out of the gun on 3rd and 2. 4-man rush. Flacco is going to get sacked at the 40-yard line. That's Harrison. So they will get the ball back, but now they can take all of the time they want off that play clock and give it to Pittsburgh with a little more than a minute remaining and no timeouts for the Steelers.
Well, let's start with the obvious. The back end was completely covered. Flacco decided not to take a chance on throwing the ball. Picked up across the board, and then James Harrison eventually gets home. Good decision, though, not to throw that one. An incomplete pass stops the clock in that situation, so the sack was actually a win.
Exactly. Cook, and before he punts, another timeout will be taken with 1:12.
Baltimore, 30-second timeout.
Let's go to Michelle.
Well, it appears that he's coming back in, Byron Leftwich. After that sack, he went to the sideline, went to the bench, was surrounded by trainers and medical staff, was evaluated for a rib, I'm told, by the team. But then he popped right back up, got his helmet ready, had a football under his arm, and he was ready to go, Al.
Michelle, as we take a look at some of the hits, and it all started after his touchdown run when he reached for his shoulder. Been in discomfort, taking some shots tonight, as you say, looking at his rib. And now he'll have to go to work and try to get him into field goal range and send the game into overtime. Cook's punt, heading towards Sanders, and he calls for the fair catch and makes it at the 16-yard line. So can Leftwich get them into field goal range for Sweezum?
I asked Byron Leftwich how many times he's had the chance to run the 2-minute offense since the season started, and he said, what difference does it make? You know, if I get in that situation, I've got to get the job done. That's what I'm paid to do. Here he is. I do know in this town, though, there is a fair percentage of the population that would like to see Charlie Batch in there running this final 2-minute offense.
Well, he needs to gain about 50 yards to give Sweezum a half-decent chance. This is a tough place to kick field goals, but at least tonight the weather is almost perfect with no wind. From the 16, Leftwich guns it over the middle, and it's incomplete, intended for Emmanuel Sanders. 2nd and 10 with 60 seconds left.
And now this is where you get to that blurred line as far as I'm concerned. I'm all for courage, and we know that Leftwich wants to play, wants to finish this game, but how healthy are you? Can you make the throws necessary to help the Pittsburgh Steelers win this game? And it's always a tough call for a coach and a player.
2nd and 10. And Leftwich will sling its sidearm, and Mendenhall, I don't know why he doesn't go to the sideline there. He gets the first down, but the clock keeps running. Precious seconds being ticked away at the 28. And Mendenhall's got to go out of bounds there. And Leftwich throws, and at the 49 it's incomplete, intended for Miller, and it's Corey Graham with another big play. 2nd down, 28 seconds left.
You know, Corey Graham has just become a nightmare, sort of lurking in the middle of this field. He already has the interception earlier in the game, and this is going to be completed. And big-time shot and legal shot. Did not go to the head, which we see so often in those kinds of situations. Corey Graham has had himself some night out here.
Got there simultaneously with the ball. 2nd and 10, the ball at the 28. Which throws, and that's going to be dislodged at midfield by Pollard. Cotchery looked like he was going to hole it in, and Pollard, known for big hits, extracted it.
Well, here you go. You're going to get it from the inside out, and this is what safeties get paid to do. It was a perfect throw, dropped it right on the money, and Pollard, who has become the hammer on this defense, without question, Bernard Pollard has become the hammer, and the hammer just dropped one.
And with Cotry down on the sideline, an injury timeout. Cotry has to go to the bench. The hit by Pollard. There's no runoff or a 5-yard penalty for this. What would amount to be the 4th timeout. Here it is again. He's ready to make the catch in midfield. And Pollard takes care of that. They're already minus Antonio Brown. Ray Lewis.
You know, you almost have to throw this one down the field 22 seconds in order to get a completion and get the clock stopped. This is almost Hail Mary time.
And it's a low snap, and Leftwich is able to extend the play, and then he's going to launch one deep downfield and incomplete. Gilreath was down there, so you got 12 seconds left and 4th down.
Well, it's a train wreck to start with. They can't get the snap. But to me, more importantly than that, I know Byron Leftwich can throw this ball this far. And he just couldn't in this situation. He gets out. He's going to get himself set up. He's throwing it from the 25-yard line. And he didn't even get close to it.
So somehow, some way, barring a minor miracle, he's got to get the ball at least to the outside to stop the clock on 4th down. Hangs in there, throws it underneath at the 31. That's Wallace. And now they'll run the old how many laterals can we get into it play. And it winds up in the hands of the Ravens, Courtney Upshaw, and that will take us to the finish line. Well, the night that started so promisingly for the Pittsburgh Steelers, less than a minute into the game, they get a touchdown. But Jacoby Jones with the biggest play of the game, the punt return. It's all about defense as it normally is in this series. And the Baltimore Ravens have put themselves in tremendous shape in the AFC North.
They really did. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers, blowing those 2 timeouts was huge. You can't make those kinds of mistakes in big games like this.